AI is homogenizing our thoughts. So in this article, there was an interesting paragraph that led me to a study. So that's what I was talking about at the outset, where when you're using these LLM systems, they seem to have this tendency where people start to use words that are similar to each other, literally between people who all use AI systems. Max Kreminsky, who helped carry out some analysis and now works with the generative AI startup Midjourney, told me that when people use AI in the creative process, they tend to gradually cede their original thinking. At first, users tend to present their own wide range of ideas, Kreminsky explained, but as ChatGPT continues to instantly spit out high volumes of acceptable-looking text, users tend to go into curationist mode. The influence is unidirectional and not in the direction you'd hope. Human ideas don't tend to influence what the machine is generating all that strongly, Kreminsky said. ChatGPT pulls the user toward the center of mass for all of the different users that it's interacted with in the past. As a conversation with an AI tool goes on, the machine fills up its context window, the technical term for its working memory. When the context window reaches capacity, the AI seems to be more likely to repeat or rehash material it has already produced, becoming less original still. So, in short, the more people use an LLM, the more the context window gets filled. At the peak of its context window, it has to generate the same answer over and over again, which impacts all of the variety of users who use this thing because they all get the same answer. Therefore, they are all starting to get influenced by having the same answer, which then leads to this scientific study done on the 30th of June in 2025. Empirical evidence of large language models' influence on human spoken communication. Are you folks ready to have your minds blown? From the invention of writing and the printing press to television and social media, human history is punctuated by major innovations in communication technology, which fundamentally altered how ideas spread and reshaped our culture. Recent chatbots provided by generative artificial intelligence constitute a novel medium that encodes cultural patterns in their neural representations and disseminates them in conversations with hundreds of millions of people. Understanding whether these patterns transmit into human language and ultimately shape human culture is a fundamental question. While fully quantifying the causal impact of a chatbot like ChatGPT on human culture is very challenging, lexicographic shift in human spoken communication may offer an early indicator of such broad phenomenon. Here we apply econometric causal inference techniques to 740,249 hours of human discourse from 360,445 YouTube academic talks and 771,591 conversational podcast episodes across multiple disciplines. We detect a measurable and abrupt increase in the use of words preferentially generated by ChatGPT, such as delve, comprehend, boast, swift, and meticulous after its release. These findings suggest a scenario where machines originally trained on human data and subsequently exhibiting their own cultural traits can, in turn, measurably reshape human culture. This marks the beginning of a closed cultural feedback loop in which cultural traits circulate bidirectionally between humans and machines. Our results motivate further research into the evolution of human-machine culture and raise concerns over the erosion of linguistic and cultural diversity and the risks of scalable manipulation. Let's have a look. This was such a banger study, honestly. Let's have a look at the charts. Check this out. So you interact with ChatGPT. You write a document, you prepare a talk, or you have a spontaneous conversation. ChatGPT gave you the word delve, and because you picked up on that, it kind of got embedded or seeded into your brain. And so then you go write a document or something, and then you start using delve all over the place. And then it goes back into the training data, and it gets spread. They looked at the YouTube talks and podcasts, and they break down exactly the information pipeline that they went over. So they transcribed all of these. They show you the categories. So Whole bunch of religion. This is going to come into play in a little bit. Sports, science and tech, education, business. So then they continue. So essentially what they did was here, let's go down right here. Here we go. Word frequency for delve in academic YouTube talks. Orange being the word frequency for delve, okay? And then blue being a synthetic control for just general words. Now you'll note that there's a cutoff line and a massive, and I mean massive, I mean dramatic upshot in p variance. So the variance would be like the deviation, or like how much change happened here. Is it a significant change to be worthy of cause? Yep, absolutely. Look at that upshot of the word delve and the cutoff line. Top words preferred by ChatGPT, and you can see here, delve, topmost word. And then you have things like underscore, comprehend, bolster, boast, swift, inquiry, etc., etc., etc. Then they took a look at the cutoff line. So let's go down here. Changing trends of word usages upon ChatGPT's release. I just want you to have a look at this. So this orange dotted line is ChatGPT's release. Delve, underscore, comprehend, bolster, boast, swift, inquiry, meticulous. And if we go over here, you can see kind of like, I guess it would be something like an average or something like that, or a mean or something like that of all the words, their usage, and in comparison to the release of ChatGPT. Continuing on, there's one aspect here. Okay, so here we go. So you can see science and tech is one of the primary categories where word usage that seems to be preferred by ChatGPT makes a dramatic upshot. However, business is also there. Education is not far off. Religion and spirituality is kind of middle of the road, I guess, if you just want to compare it. Sports, downturn. Now, this was interesting. For the word delve, in English language podcast conversations across multiple topics, delve usage increases significantly in science and technology, business and education, but not in religion and spirituality or sports. Why would religion and spirituality and sports, what could it be? What could something be? What could an overlap be between these two topics when you're talking about these two topics, where they would be less impacted by ChatGPT? There is something that's being said here that's not actually being said here. In any case, the point here is that much like you could say the printing press had this, so the creation of the wide distribution of the Bible, for example, necessarily had an impact on people's thoughts and words. We're noticing that I think we're seeing evidence that there's something similar going on. That's pretty much like the key points of the study. You're welcome to go look at this on your own. It's a really good study. They did a great job. They did notice that there's like an impact also on like scientific papers like ArcSiv and stuff like that. Their word usage also impacts these kinds of things. So it has a wide sweeping usage. So I do not think that this phenomenon is never before seen, but what I do think is that this is happening at a rate that has not happened, at least in recent history, maybe ever, because of the digital platform and the accessibility people have to these ChatGPT systems. The ability for these kinds of impacts to happen is simply higher than it ever has been before. That's all. So again, these things have the ability to impact you. All right. So please be careful. Please be careful. I bet it's not just words, but also ideas or mindset. Yes. But you could make the same argument though, again, like what I'm saying, like the printing press, which kind of, if my memory serves me correct, I could be wrong about this. Chat can fact check me. The printing press came out of a desire to massively distribute the Bible. I believe that was the impetus of the printing press. No, I don't think that's right. Actually, maybe it's a news thing. Look, I don't remember. Okay, I'm gonna eat it. L's in chat from me. I don't remember. Anyways, the point is printing press, and whatever separate, a separate event pushed the wide distribution of the Bible. You can come up with all kinds of different scenarios where the word words put on paper that people read, it influences their thinking, right? And the words that they end up using. Yeah. So I would just say that it's not exactly like, oh, LLMs are doing this bad thing. No, LLMs are doing what we've been doing for a long time. The question here is, I think these are the relevant questions. Why are these things being created? And I guess also by whom, right? So what's the purpose, right? So just like you can point back to previous times when there was an impetus to do like printing press and Bible distribution, why? Who's doing it? How are you being infected? And what's the scale of that, infection system, right? So you do have to ask these questions, because these questions can lead to an understanding of whether the intent behind this is good, bad, neutral, maybe a little bit good, maybe a little bit bad. They're created by other people for the intent of manipulation. It's at a scale we've never seen before, and it's a mind virus that's never been seen before. These LLMs are, unfortunately, or fortunately, in our case, this would be fortunate, they are massively limited. I believe the wall has been hit already, and there's a lag effect. Many people are just unwilling to see it. And it's that wall that means that their impact can only go so far. That's good. It still means that you all have to be careful when you're using these things.